I was sitting on the back porch when he showed up that afternoon, the same way he always did. No warning, just the sound of his old truck pulling into the gravel driveway like it owned the place. I remember thinking it was strange he came by on a Wednesday. He usually waited until weekends, brought beer, maybe grilled something, talked about work or whatever girl he was seeing that week. But this time, he stepped out of the truck alone. No music blasting, no smirk on his face, just quiet. I didn't think much of it at first. I was proud of that kid no matter what. My grandson, Jake, 26 years old, tall like his dad, same crooked smile, same way of looking at you like he knew something you didn't. He had always been the kind of guy who made you feel like everything was going to be fine, even when it wasn't. He walked up the porch steps slow, holding something in his hand. Not a beer, not his phone. It looked like a small envelope, folded and bent like he'd been gripping it too tight for too long. "Hey, Pops," he said. "Hey, yourself," I answered, leaning back in my chair. "You look like hell." He gave a dry laugh, the kind that didn't come from anywhere real. "Yeah, I feel like it." That's when I started to notice something was off. His eyes were tired, red around the edges, like he hadn't slept. His jaw was tight, like he was holding something back. "Everything okay?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just stood there, staring out into the yard like he was trying to find the right words buried somewhere in the grass. Finally, he stepped closer and handed me the envelope. "Just look at this," he said. I took it, confused. It wasn't sealed. I pulled out a few printed photos, the cheap kind you get from a pharmacy kiosk. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was a woman, blonde, mid-30s maybe, laughing, sitting at a bar. Then another photo, same woman, different angle, and then another. And then my stomach dropped, because I knew her. It was Lauren, my wife. I felt my chest tighten as I flipped through the rest of them. There she was again, leaning into some guy, his hand on her lower back like it belonged there. Another shot, her smiling at him the way she used to smile at me years ago before things got quiet between us, before everything turned into routines and small talk and long silences at dinner. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. Jake was watching me the whole time. "I didn't know how to tell you," he said quietly, "so I figured you should just see it." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "Where did you get these?" He hesitated. That hesitation told me everything before he even opened his mouth. "I took them." That didn't make sense. Not at first. "What do you mean you took them?" I asked. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing a little now. "I mean, I saw her. A couple weeks ago, I was at this bar downtown with some guys from work, and she walked in. At first, I thought I was imagining it, you know? But then she sat down with this guy, and..." He stopped, jaw tightening again. "And what?" I pushed. And it wasn't just drinks pops. I felt something twist inside me, a slow, burning kind of pain that didn't explode all at once, but spread through me like a crack in glass. "How long?" I asked. "I don't know," he said, "but I've seen them together more than once." That hit harder than anything else. Not just a mistake, not just a bad night. This was something ongoing, something real. I looked back down at the photos again, my hands shaking now. Lauren looked happy. That was the part that hurt the most. Not guilty, not nervous, just comfortable. Like she belonged in that moment more than she did here, in this house, with me. "I wasn't sure if I should tell you," Jake continued. "I kept thinking maybe it's none of my business. But then I thought about you sitting here, not knowing, and I just couldn't keep it in." I nodded slowly, still trying to process it. "You did the right thing," I said, even though the words felt heavy coming out of my mouth. He let out a breath, like he'd been holding it for days. "I was proud of you," I added, looking up at him, "for telling me. That took guts." He gave me a small, almost sad smile. "Yeah, didn't feel like it." We sat there in silence for a while, the kind of silence that says everything without needing words. I could hear the wind moving through the trees, a dog barking somewhere down the road, the distant hum of a passing car. Normal sounds, ordinary life continuing like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I thought about Lauren, about the life we built together. 32 years. 32 years of shared mornings, arguments, holidays, quiet nights on the couch. And now this. Now these pictures sitting in my hands like proof that none of it meant what I thought it did. "Does she know you saw?" I asked. Jake shook his head. "No." I stayed out of sight.
Just watched. Watched. That word stuck with me. You didn't say anything to her? No. You didn't confront her? He hesitated again. No, he repeated, but this time it sounded different, less certain. I frowned slightly, catching that shift. What does that mean? He looked away, toward the driveway, like he was trying to avoid my eyes. It just means I didn't say anything to her then. Then, another word that didn't sit right. What are you not telling me? I asked, my voice sharper now. He exhaled slowly, rubbing the back of his neck. It's nothing like that. Jake, He stopped, searching for the right words again. I ran into her a few days later, at the grocery store. She saw me. We talked. My grip tightened on the photos. And she acted like everything was normal, like nothing was going on. Asked about you, asked about me, smiled the whole time. I felt a bitter taste rise in my mouth. So you just played along? What was I supposed to do? Call her out right there in the middle of the store? No, I said, but you could have said something. I know, he snapped, a little defensive now. I know that, but it caught me off guard, okay? I didn't expect to see her like that, acting like she didn't have a secret. We locked eyes for a moment, tension building in the space between us. Then something shifted, something subtle, but enough to make my stomach twist again. Jake, I said slowly, is there anything else I should know? He froze, just for a second, but I saw it, that hesitation again, that flicker of something behind his eyes that didn't belong there. Like what? He asked. Like anything you're not telling me? He shook his head quickly. No, that's it. But it didn't feel like the truth, not completely. And I couldn't explain why, but for the first time since he walked up that porch, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel toward my own grandson. Doubt. I looked down at the photos again, then back up at him. All right, I said quietly. We'll deal with this. He nodded, but he didn't look relieved. If anything, he looked more tense than before. And as I sat there, holding proof that my wife was betraying me, I couldn't shake the feeling that this story, this thing Jake had just dropped into my life, was bigger than what I was seeing, that there was something else buried underneath it, something he hadn't said, something I wasn't ready to hear. And deep down, without even realizing it yet, I think part of me already knew.
That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there beside Lauren, staring up at the ceiling while she breathed softly next to me, like nothing in the world was wrong, like she hadn't spent weeks, maybe months, slipping out of this life and into someone else's arms. Every now and then she shifted, her hand brushing against mine under the covers, and each time it happened, I felt this cold, hollow distance open up between us that hadn't been there before. I kept thinking about the photos, about her smile, about the way that guy touched her like he knew her, like he had a place in her life I didn't know about. And then, underneath all that, there was Jake. That hesitation, that look in his eyes when I asked if there was more. It didn't sit right. By morning, I'd convinced myself I was overthinking it, that I was just trying to find something to grab onto because the truth about Lauren was already too much. But the feeling didn't go away. It stayed there, quiet and heavy in the back of my mind. Lauren was already in the kitchen when I got up, coffee brewing, toast in the toaster, the usual routine. She turned when she heard me, smiling like she always did. Morning, she said. I studied her face for a second longer than usual, looking for something, guilt maybe, or a crack in whatever story she'd been telling herself. But there was nothing, just the same woman I'd been waking up next to for 3 decades. Morning, I replied. You okay? She asked, tilting her head slightly. You look tired. Didn't sleep much. Want me to make you eggs? I shook my head. Just coffee. She poured me a cup, sliding it across the counter. Our fingers brushed for a second, and I pulled mine back instinctively. She noticed. I saw it in the way her eyes flickered, just for a moment. You sure you're all right? She asked again. Yeah, I said, taking a sip. Just got a lot on my mind. That wasn't a lie. She watched me for another second, like she was deciding whether to push further. Then she turned back to the stove. I might head out later, she said casually. Run a few errands. Yeah? Yeah, need to pick up a few things. Maybe meet Karen for lunch. Karen. That name landed differently now. Sounds good, I said, keeping my voice even. I didn't ask questions, not yet. I needed to see for myself. Around noon, she grabbed her purse and keys, kissed me on the cheek, and walked out like it was any other day.
I waited about 5 minutes before I got up, grabbed my jacket, and followed. I hadn't done something like this in my entire life. Not once. I trusted her. Always had. But trust doesn't survive something like those photos. It turns into something else. Something sharper. She drove straight into town. I kept a few cars between us, my heart pounding harder with every turn she made. I felt ridiculous, like some jealous husband in a bad movie. But I kept going. She didn't go to any grocery store, didn't stop at any retail shop. Instead, she pulled into the parking lot of a bar. Not even a subtle one. Just a place right off Main Street with dark windows and a neon sign flickering in the daylight. I parked across the street, my hands gripping the steering wheel tighter than I realized. 10 minutes passed. Then I saw him. Same guy from the photos. He walked up to her car like he'd done it 100 times before, opened the passenger door, and got in without hesitation. My chest tightened. They didn't stay there long. Just a minute or two. Talking, maybe laughing. I couldn't hear from where I was. Then they both got out and headed inside together. That was it. That was all the confirmation I needed. But I didn't leave. I don't know why. Maybe part of me wanted to see more. To hurt more. Or maybe I just wasn't ready to go back home and pretend I didn't know what I knew. So I sat there. And then, about 20 minutes later, another car pulled into the lot. A familiar one. My stomach dropped before my brain even caught up. It was Jake's truck. I felt this sudden, sharp jolt of confusion. What the hell was he doing here? I watched as he stepped out, looking around like he was making sure no one was watching. Then he walked straight toward the entrance of the bar. The same bar Lauren had just gone into. My heart started pounding again, but this time it was different. Faster, harder. Like something inside me was trying to warn me before I even understood what was happening. No, I muttered under my breath. No, that doesn't make any sense. I told myself it was a coincidence. It had to be. Small town, same places, same routines. Maybe he came here all the time. Maybe he didn't even know she was inside. But deep down, that explanation didn't stick. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Every second felt longer than the last. And then the door opened. Lauren came out first. She was laughing. Not the polite laugh she gave me over dinner. Not the forced one she used around neighbors. This was different. Lighter. Freer. The guy was behind her, his hand brushing her lower back again. And then Jake stepped out right after them. Close. Too close. The three of them stood there together like it was the most natural thing in the world. Talking, smiling, like they all belonged in the same moment. I felt something inside me crack. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a quiet, irreversible shift. Lauren said something, and both men laughed. Jake looked relaxed, comfortable, like he wasn't just some accidental witness to her life, like he was part of it. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I didn't need to. I saw the way Jake looked at her, and it wasn't the way a grandson looks at his grandmother. It was something else, something I didn't want to name. They stood there for a few more minutes before splitting off. The other guy got into his car and drove away. Lauren leaned in, said something to Jake, her hand briefly touching his arm. Then she got back into her car. Jake stayed there for a second, watching her leave. Then he turned and walked back toward his truck. I ducked down slightly in my seat, my heart hammering so loud I thought it might give me away. My hands were shaking now, worse than before. This wasn't just about Lauren anymore. This was something else, something deeper, dirtier, something that made everything I thought I knew feel like a lie. I waited until Jake drove off before I started my engine. I didn't follow him this time. I couldn't. I needed a minute to breathe, to think. But thinking didn't help, because every time I replayed what I just saw, it only led to one place, and I wasn't ready to accept it. Not yet. When I got home, Lauren was already there. Of course she was. She was in the kitchen again, like always. Like the last couple hours hadn't happened. Like she hadn't just been standing in a parking lot laughing with another man. And my grandson. You're back early. She glanced at me. Yeah, I replied, setting my keys down. You end up going anywhere? No. She nodded, turning back to whatever she was doing. I stood there for a second, watching her, trying to match this version of her with the one I saw earlier. They didn't line up. Did you have lunch with Karen? I asked. She didn't even hesitate. Yeah, we just grabbed a quick bite. A clean lie, smooth, practiced. I felt that same hollow feeling spread through my chest again. Must have been nice, she replied. We should all get together sometime. You, me, Karen, and... She stopped herself mid-sentence.
And who? I asked. She turned, smiling again, but it didn't reach her eyes this time. No one, she said, just thinking out loud. I held her gaze for a moment longer, then nodded. Right. That night I sat on the porch again. Same chair, same view. But nothing felt the same. I kept replaying it all. The photos, the bar, the way Jake showed up like he belonged there, the way he looked at her, and that hesitation yesterday, that one moment where he almost said something and didn't. I should have pushed harder. I should have made him tell me everything, because now, sitting there in the dark, I had this growing, sinking feeling that what I saw today wasn't the beginning of the truth. It was just the part I wasn't supposed to see. I didn't call Jake that night. I wanted to. God knows I did. I must have picked up my phone a dozen times, stared at his name, then set it back down like it might burn me if I touched it too long. Because once I made that call, there was no going back. Whatever this was, whatever I had seen, it would have to be said out loud, and I wasn't sure I was ready to hear it yet. So instead, I sat there on that porch until the air turned cold and the neighborhood went quiet. My mind kept circling the same questions over and over again, like a record that couldn't stop scratching. How long had this been going on? And more importantly, what exactly was Jake's role in it? I barely slept again, and by morning, I was done pretending this was something I could ignore or slowly figure out. I needed answers, real ones. I called him around 10. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey, Pops." His voice sounded normal, too normal. "Where are you?" I asked. There was a slight pause. At home? Why?" "I need you to come over." Another pause, longer this time. "Everything okay?" "No," I said, "it's not. Just get over here." I hung up before he could ask anything else. He showed up about 30 minutes later. Same truck, same gravel crunch. But this time, I didn't feel that same sense of pride when I saw him step out. That feeling had been replaced by something heavier, something colder. He walked up the porch steps, taking one look at my face and realizing this wasn't going to be a casual visit. "What's going on?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at him, letting the silence stretch until it started to make him uncomfortable. Then I said it. "I saw you yesterday." His expression shifted instantly. Not confusion, not surprise, recognition. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but it came out too fast, too automatic. "At the bar," I continued, "with her." That was all it took. The color drained from his face, and for a second, he looked like a completely different person. Younger, smaller, like a kid who'd just been caught doing something he couldn't explain his way out of. "Pops, Don't," I cut him off. "Don't start lying to me now." He swallowed hard, glancing away like he was searching for an escape that wasn't there. "I saw everything," I said. "You walked in after her, you came out with her. You stood there like that was normal." "It's not what you think," he said quickly. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was the most predictable thing he could have said. "Then tell me what it is," I replied, my voice low and steady. Because from where I was sitting, it looked like my wife and my grandson are a hell of a lot more comfortable around each other than they should be. He ran his hands through his hair, pacing now, just like he did the day before. Only this time there was panic in it, real panic. "I didn't want you to find out like this," he muttered. "Find out what, Jake?" He stopped moving, looked at me, and for the first time since he got there, I saw it clearly in his eyes. Guilt. Not just about the photos, about something deeper. "It didn't start like that," he said quietly. My stomach turned. "Start like what?" He hesitated, and in that hesitation, I already knew the answer. I just needed to hear him say it. "Jake?" "It was an accident," he said. "At first." There it was. I felt like the ground had dropped out from under me, but I stayed standing, stayed still, because if I moved, if I reacted too fast, I might not hear the rest. "Explain," I said. He took a deep breath, like he was about to jump off a cliff. "A few months ago," he began, "I came by the house. You weren't here. I think you were out running errands or something. She was alone." I said nothing. "She asked me to come in," he continued. "We were just talking, normal stuff. She had a drink, then another. I had one too. It wasn't planned." My jaw tightened, but I kept listening. "She started talking about you," he said, "about how things had changed, how you weren't the same, how she felt invisible." That word hit harder than I expected. Invisible. "I told her that wasn't true," he added quickly. "I told her you loved her, that you just, you get caught up in routine." But she kept going, kept drinking. He paused, looking down at his hands. "And then?" "And then she kissed me." The words hung in the air like something toxic. I felt my chest tightened, my breathing slowing down in that dangerous way where everything feels too controlled, too quiet. "And you just let that happen?" I asked. He shook his head, but it wasn't a strong denial. I should have stopped it. I know I should have, but I didn't. Not right away. "Not right away," I repeated, my voice sharper now. He winced.
It caught me off guard, he said. I didn't expect it. And then it just happened. One thing led to another, and you slept with her, I finished. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. I looked away for a second, trying to steady myself. The image of it, of them, forced its way into my head whether I wanted it or not. My wife, my grandson, together. Was that the only time? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. No, he admitted. Of course not. How many times? I don't know, he said. A few. It wasn't supposed to keep going. But it did. Yeah. I nodded slowly, absorbing it piece by piece, like my brain was trying to protect me by not taking it all at once. And the other guy, I asked? The one in the photos? The one at the bar? That's different, Jake said quickly. Different how? He doesn't know about me, and I don't know how long she's been seeing him. That's her thing. Her thing. I let out a bitter breath. So let me get this straight, I said. My wife is cheating on me with some guy from a bar and also sleeping with my grandson on the side? He flinched at the way I said it. Yeah, he whispered. The word echoed in my head. Yeah, like it was that simple, like it was something you could just admit and move past. I stood up then, finally unable to sit still anymore. My whole body felt tense, like it was holding back something that wanted to explode. Why did you show me the photos? I asked, turning to face him again. If you were part of it, why bring this to me at all? That question hit him harder than anything else I'd said. Because I couldn't take it anymore, he said, his voice breaking slightly. Seeing her with him, knowing what I did with her, knowing you had no idea, it messed with my head, Pops. I felt like I was living two different lives. So you decided to clear your conscience, I said, at my expense. That's not fair. No?
I shout back. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you wanted to feel better about yourself without actually taking responsibility for what you did. That's not what this is, he insisted. I care about you. That's why I told you. You cared about me while you were in my house with my wife? He had no answer for that. Just silence. Thick, heavy silence. I stared at him for a long moment, trying to reconcile the person I thought he was with the one standing in front of me now. I was proud of you yesterday, I said finally. He looked up, hope flickering in his eyes for just a second. I thought you were doing something hard, something honest. That hope faded as quickly as it came. But now, I continued, now I don't even recognize you. He swallowed hard, his eyes glistening slightly. I never meant for it to go this far, he said. But it did, I replied. And now we're here. I turned away, running a hand over my face, trying to figure out what the hell came next. Because there wasn't a guide for this. No blueprint for how you handle something like this. Behind me, I could hear him shifting. Like he wanted to say more but didn't know how. Does she know you're here? He asked quietly. I shook my head. No. Are you going to tell her? I didn't answer right away. Because the truth was, I didn't know. Not yet. But one thing was certain. This wasn't going to stay buried. And when it came out, it was going to destroy whatever was left of this family. I didn't go back inside after Jake left. I stayed out on that porch long after his truck disappeared down the road, just sitting there with my elbows on my knees, staring at a yard that suddenly felt unfamiliar. Same trees, same fence, same broken patch of grass near the driveway I always meant to fix. But everything looked different now, like the house had been quietly rearranged while I wasn't paying attention. I kept replaying what he said. Not just the words, but the way he said them. Like he wasn't trying to hurt me. Like he was confessing something he'd already been punished for in his own head. A few months ago. That line kept looping back. A few months ago wasn't random. It wasn't distant enough to feel like a mistake from another life. It was recent. Close. Living under the same roof as me. Sitting at the same dinner table. Sleeping in the same bed as my wife. Lauren. I said her name out loud without realizing it. It didn't feel like it belonged to her anymore. I didn't go looking for her right away. I should have. That's what a normal man would do. Walk inside. Confront it. Demand answers while everything was still fresh and sharp. But I didn't feel sharp. I felt worn down. Like I'd already lived through the confrontation and just hadn't realized it yet. So instead, I waited.
She came home around dusk. I heard her before I saw her, keys in the door, the soft hum of her voice as she stepped inside like nothing had shifted in the world. Like the ground wasn't already cracked beneath her feet. "Hello?" she called out. "You out back?" I didn't answer right away. Then I heard her footsteps on the porch. She appeared in the doorway, holding her purse, her expression neutral at first. Then she saw me. And something changed. Not much. Just enough. "You've been out here all day?" she asked. "Yeah." She studied me for a second longer than usual. "You're starting to worry me. What's going on with you?" That was almost funny. Almost. I stood up slowly. "I saw him today," I said. Her eyes flickered, just for a second. "Who?" she asked. "Don't do that," I said quietly. A pause. The air between us tightened. Then she exhaled, setting her purse down on the small table by the door. "I don't know what you think you saw," she said carefully. "But I'm really not in the mood for games." That word again. Games. Like this was something light. Something misinterpreted. Something I could be talked out of. "I talked to Jake," I said. That got her attention. Her posture shifted slightly. "Okay," she said slowly. "Why?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time in years, I felt like I was seeing her the way a stranger might. Not the version I built a life with. Not the version I trusted without thinking. Just a person standing in front of me, carefully measuring every word. "He told me everything," I said. Silence. Not denial. Not outrage. Just silence. And that told me more than anything else. Her eyes moved away from mine, toward the yard, then back again. "What exactly did he tell you?" she asked. I almost laughed again, but it came out more like air leaving my lungs. "That you kissed him first," I said. Her jaw tightened slightly. "That it started in this house," I continued. "When I wasn't here." Now her expression shifted. Not panic. Not guilt. Annoyance. Like I'd interrupted something she was tired of repeating. "That's not how it happened," she said. I nodded slowly. "Then tell me how it happened." She crossed her arms, leaning slightly against the doorframe. "He's confused," she said. "Or he's exaggerating. You know how young men are when emotions get involved. They rewrite things." There it was. A clean version of reality. A version that didn't require her to break. "I don't think he's confused," I said. She sighed. Like I was being difficult on purpose. "You're letting this spiral," she said. "I don't know what he told you, but I haven't done anything to you." That sentence hit a nerve I didn't know I still had. "To me," I repeated. Her eyes narrowed slightly. That's not what I meant. But it was exactly what she meant. I stepped closer to her then. Not aggressive. Not loud. Just close enough that she had to meet my eyes fully. "I saw you," I said. "At the bar. With him." Her face didn't change much, but I saw the shift behind it. The calculation. The quick internal adjustment. "You followed me?" she asked. "No," I said. "I found out. And I went to see for myself." A long pause. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. "Of course you did." Not shocked. Not afraid. Just resigned. Like she already knew this moment was coming. I felt something tighten in my chest. "You're not even going to deny it?" I asked. She shook her head slightly. "I'm not going to play this game either," she said. "You're mixing things up. You're reacting to whatever Jake told you. And filling in the blanks. That name again. Jake." She said it too easily. Too naturally. Like it didn't carry weight. Like it wasn't supposed to. "I didn't come here to argue details," I said. "I came here to understand what's real." She looked at me for a long moment, then walked past me into the living room. I followed. She sat down on the couch like she was tired. rubbing her forehead slightly. "You want the truth?" she said finally. "Yes," she exhaled. "The truth is I've been unhappy for a long time. Not what I expected, but also not new. That part I already knew. Deep down. We both did. We just never said it out loud. That doesn't explain him," I said. Her eyes lifted. "Jake is complicated," she said. Something in me snapped at that word. "Complicated," I repeated. "That's what you're calling it?" She frowned slightly. "I didn't seek him out," she said. "It just happened at a time when I wasn't thinking clearly." "That's not an answer," I said. She stood up now, pacing slightly. "You keep wanting it to be simple. It's not simple. Nothing about this is simple."
I felt my hands clench. Was it just him, I asked, or is there someone else? That question landed differently. She stopped moving. For the first time, she looked uncertain, and that was all I needed. "There's someone else," I said quietly. She didn't answer, not immediately. And in that silence, something inside me went still. Because suddenly, Jake wasn't the center of this. He was just a part of it, a piece, not the whole picture. And I realized something I didn't want to admit. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a pattern I had walked past without seeing. Lauren finally spoke, her voice lower now. "I didn't plan for any of this," she said. "It just kept expanding. Expanding. Like it was something that grew on its own. Like she wasn't the one making decisions anymore." I stared at her, trying to understand how long this had really been happening. How many lies had been layered under our normal days. How many conversations had been rehearsed in her head before she ever walked into a room with me. And then I thought about Jake again, sitting on my porch, confessing like he was the beginning of the story. But what if he wasn't? What if he was just the part that broke the surface? Lauren looked at me again, softer this time. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said. I almost believed her. Almost. But belief felt like something I couldn't afford anymore. Because now I wasn't just dealing with what happened, I was dealing with everything I hadn't seen coming. And somewhere in all of this, I could feel it forming in my mind, the real question. Not who she had been with, not even why, but how far back this actually went, and whether I had been living in the truth at all, or just inside the version of it they let me see.